All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. My name is Evan Transu, aka Detective Ev, and I will be your host for today's show, episode number 342 of the Health Detective Podcast. We're here with Joe Hoye, and we're going to be talking about something that is very relevant to the majority of our audience, and I'll get into that in just a second. There definitely is going to be something for everyone here, though. That much I can almost guarantee. Before we get into the conversation, you guys know I've been shouting these folks out a lot. They do not even know I'm doing this. Probably the only way they would know is if they see some sales coming in. I'm just doing it because I absolutely love them. I'm shouting out North Star Grounding. They were on the podcast about a month and a half ago, John Hegarty. And the reason I'm shouting them out is because he was nice enough to send me one of his products for free. And I always tell anyone that sends me something, I said, I'm happy to share my progress or lack thereof, but I'm never going to lie to the audience. So it's up to you if you want to send it for free. So we did send it. And what they create are these grounding products. So grounding pillowcases, grounding sheets. This is not woo-woo, by the way. This is something that can easily be measured. You can buy these meters for like 10, 15 bucks and see that it is in fact grounding you. I've noticed a huge improvement in my sleep. Like most things in the world of functional medicine, this is not a cure-all. You're not going to sleep on a grounded sheet and all of a sudden your health issues are going to go away. That is ridiculous. What I have noticed, though, is I'm sleeping deeper for longer. That is definitely something that's happening. My wife, Maddie, has noticed that as well. And I've shared this every time. This is... I don't know what this is really worth because the trackables, in my opinion, are not perfect devices, but I still wear them. I will say this. My readiness score 2 days into using the sheet went up the highest on my Oura Ring that it had been in about a month and a half, 2 months. So I find that pretty interesting. It is starting to trend upwards too as of the last 6 weeks. So we'll see if there's any correlation there, or maybe I'm just more excited to sleep because of it. Nonetheless, you guys can go to their website, northstargrounding.com. Code is HDP15 at checkout, and all of their profits go to funding their nonprofit organization, which is this place where you can get free videos for cancer patients to hear stories and testimonials of other cancer patients who have overcome their cancers naturally. So, if you have someone in your family with prostate cancer, you can go to that website and have an individual who's been through that and healed it naturally, or at least used some natural modalities to get to where they're at now. And they will create a free video for you addressing that person by name and sharing their story with them. I just think absolutely incredible people and incredible companies. So northstargrounding.com, HDP15 at checkout. And I will read our guest's bio today, and then we will get rolling here. Joe Hoye's journey in health and fitness began at 13, inspired by his mother's strength and guidance. Despite a detour in college that led to weight gain, Joe reclaimed his health through disciplined fitness and nutrition. This personal transformation drew others to seek his advice, sparking his passion for helping others. With a background as a surgery technologist focusing on OBGYN, Joe gained a deep understanding of women's health. This, combined with his admiration for his mother, motivated him to establish Hoye Fit, a wellness platform dedicated to empowering women over 40. And Joe's approach is holistic, recognizing that true fitness involves more than just diet and exercise. And I will have the full bio for you guys in the comments and in the show notes if you're listening on audio after this has been released. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to talk about something other than my bio. I'm going to talk about the grounding pad. You might have just created a customer for me because that is right up my alley.
Yeah. Joe, if you don't mind, after the show, I'll send you their podcast that they did here. Those guys, when you hear the story, it is selfless. It is literally just the guy got into it because his brother had cancer. He gave up this big time finance job. And now they're holistic hippie guys like us. So
I love that.
Yes. Awesome. But yeah, we're glad to have you. And, it's kind of funny because it's two youngish dudes hanging out on the podcast. But the irony is this space is dominated by women. And I think women are a little smarter with their health. They're more aware. They also suffer more with autoimmune conditions and a few different other things. So I think that's another reason they're probably in the space. But I loved the part about your bio, and I've checked out your Instagram. I love how much of a core piece your mom is to all of this, because I dealt with my own health issues, but I also watched my mom be sick the entire time. And so, maybe I'm not as public about it. I like how you embrace it. Maybe I need to work on that, but I'm like, I know in the back of my head, there must be something there because I got into this, my sister got into nursing. And so you try to make the best out of these situations, right?
Exactly.
So I'm definitely excited to talk about the title today. Don't worry, we never clickbait you guys. I'm going to talk about why maybe you guys do need to detox from some of the extreme diets people have done. But if you could humor me with this, I know it's a typical podcast story, but I always like to get into the origins of all this. So, outside of the things that we listed off in your bio, how do you get to where you're at now? Because I'm guessing this is not what you set out to do at 10 years old. I'm just assuming.
No, it's not. And yeah, I mean, I think I have no other choice but to embrace the fact that my mom was a massive catalyst in me going this path.
Awesome.
So I'll fly through this, but at 13 years old, I was grown up, two stepbrothers that were in and out of the house, either at my mom's or at their other parents. And she was my only strong, consistent, I have to really emphasize consistent role model. And when she saw me going down a bad path at 13, both getting picked on and bullied, as well as making wrong choices, she's the one that redirected me and pushed me into the gym with her, which if she didn't do that, this is not the path I would be on, guaranteed. So number one, I recognized at a young age that if I can impact a mother's life, I can impact a whole lot more lives, because she impacted mine, and then I impacted my brothers, and then my brothers impacted their fathers, and everything changed because my mom made one decision. So I want to give back to her to create as much impact as I can. I graduated high school just about as skinny as I started the gym. 5 years later, still getting picked on, still getting bullied, still unhappy. I start partying in college while pursuing a career in the medical field. And in the medical field, courses I took, so that was anatomy, physiology, nutrition, kinesiology. I had to understand what the body needed in order to undergo change. But I was also starting to party and drink alcohol. And I started to gain weight just like I wanted, but it wasn't the weight I wanted. And so I went from 145, I went straight to my goal of 195 pounds. I was just composed of the wrong things, and I ballooned straight up to 225. And then I had a new problem. I was still unhappy with myself. I was just overweight. I eventually ditched the partying, ditched the drinking, dialed in everything I had learned, and I got to where I am now, which is about 195 pounds of mostly muscle, healthy levels of fat, and I was confident. I had a lot of people asking me for help. Transparently, I thought I wanted to help people like you and me, guys become more confident with their shirt off. So I started advertising these 8-week weight loss challenges in the way that I talk right now. And the only people I resonated with were not people like you and me. It's people like my mom. So I opened up that first Zoom call, that first coaching call, and all the faces looking back at me looked just like my mom and her friends. And I couldn't figure out why for a while, but I came to the conclusion that growing up with my mom as my role model, I spent time with her and her friends, and I spent time learning how to communicate in a way that they liked. And so I naturally drew them in. At the end of that 8 weeks, I had a freaking blast. I loved working with them and transforming their lives. And I also realized that if I could change their lives, again, like I said, I'm going to change their families' lives too. Lastly, I got my job in surgery. I was never a doctor. I was helping the doctor with surgery. And they stuck me inside the OB and GYN-based rooms. And so now I want to give back to my mom. I have a blast with these people, and I understand their body in a massive way. And so 6 years later, I haven't looked back.
That's awesome. When you started to work with them, you said that they're amazing clients. Did you find that they were more compliant? Or I guess I want to know, why are they so amazing to work with? Because you're right. We talk about business actually quite a bit on this show, just in the sense that when you get into this health space, you come in with the right heart usually, and then most people have to learn the business side. So one of the things we emphasize is niching down, and it sounds like you used the common sense approach. I'm going to niche down to who I once was. That makes total sense on paper, but then you notice that, hey, I got to pivot here because this is actually who I'm attracting. So why are these ladies so awesome to work with? Are they just more compliant or what?
No, they're not more compliant. I'm calling all of you out. No, what I realize is that they have more time inside of their struggle. And so to be quite frank, there's more pain, there's more desire. And when we get them to reach their goal, there is much more fulfillment, happiness, and pride. And so I have certainly helped 20-year-olds and 25-year-old men reach their goal, and they'll give me a fist bump and say, "Thanks, bro. Now I'm happy." When I change a mom's life that's 50, that has been trying to lose weight for 10, 15, or 20 years, done every diet in the books, and none of them have worked, and they followed my approach of eating more food, not less, and exercising the right way, and I see them in the grocery store, they give me the biggest hug, and they make me cry, and they make me feel so damn good that I could help change their life. And their son will come up to me and tell me that he's in the gym because of me. it's just so rewarding. And I know I'm helping so many more people this way.
That's awesome. And I love what you said about if you impact a mom, it impacts so many other people. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Because I would love to believe all men will do this. Maybe they won't. But, if a mom gets her stuff on track, now she's looking great at 50 years old. Well, now the husband doesn't want to be left behind. So he's working on that. And I think kids, I don't think this needs to be stated, right? I'm sure there's studies on this, but I don't think you need any studies on it to see a mom healthy, happy, making changes in life, saying, hey, you know what? I tried these things. It didn't work. I'm now still trying stuff and not giving up. You learn that. You pick these things up as a kid, just like you and I picked up certain things, so that's a make or break, man. I think that's really cool and very important. Now, and I mean this in a respectful way because we have so many guests on, right? There's 300 something episodes of this podcast. So people have heard certain overlapped things, and the weight loss space, I give you so much props for getting into it, because to me, that's genuinely one of the hardest ones, just in the sense that it's popular. There's marketing everywhere. There's companies with billions of dollars that are fighting you to get these people to consume their products or take their trainings versus you over here, right? So what you can't deny, though, is if these people are truly trying things for 10, 20 plus years and they haven't done it, and then they work with you and do lose it, well, that's an objective result. So I'd love to start diving into this. What is so unique about your approach, especially on the diet side? I think that's very relevant to this show, that's leading to these results when they've tried things for years that didn't get them to where they wanted to go.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm the only one that does this. There's a lot of us that do similar things to me, but a lot of us, we're all small fish. And I'm talking about competing against the big brands that I don't really feel like calling out right now, but we all know who they are. The starvation diets, the fads, the detoxes, the gimmicks. I'm competing against them. And they're telling you, you need to eat 800, 1,000, 1,200 calories, and you need to exercise every day. And not only is it not true, but it's harmful. And so we combat that before we address weight loss. Like, we fix that and all the problems that come along with it, both physically and mentally. And only when we see that that is fixed and somebody is ready for weight loss physically and mentally do we bring them into that. And we still go into calorie deficits, of course, because that's needed for weight loss. But very, very rarely, unless we have a very tiny, very sedentary person that can't exercise, do we live in a 1,200 calorie deficit. Right? Normally, we're at 1,700 calories. In a lady's maintenance, you're not going to believe this if you hear it. I mean, you will, but listeners might not, is 2,000, 2,100, 2,300 calories a day. And so that's where we're different, because we do things, in my very biased opinion, the right way.
What are some of the effects then? Because listen, obviously this show is around functional medicine, and there's people that listen that are very well versed, and I get that, but then there's the practical side and the human side to it. And there's plenty of people that I've interviewed on here that they know everything about the labs, everything about the supplements, and yet they are very transparent. I appreciate this. They admit that they've still struggled with this stuff, right? I mean, they get really locked into the numbers, man. And not that this can't happen to guys, it absolutely can, but I've seen it overrepresented with women. And it's almost scary when I talk to someone that is so logical and so intelligent in every sense of the word, and then yet somehow they've justified to themselves that, I mean, these are the actual numbers. You are right. 900 calories, 1,000 calories in a day is appropriate. My wife's a practitioner as well, and she was working with a client recently, and she's like, "Oh, I can't get her to change, Joe, from 600 calories a day." It was an adult woman. I said,
Yep.
Maddie, my wife, I'm like, if you really can't get this person to change that, like, you might need to like bring in an external source here. Like, they need help, right? This is crazy that they believe that. And I don't mean crazy in a dismissive way. I've dealt with mental health stuff. I mean, we're going to kill this person if this person does not get on track. So how do you help them break through that? Because I'm sure there is a time for like legitimate psychology intervention, right? A counselor or a therapist, but how can you support them with that type of stuff?
Yeah. So number one, I just want to acknowledge that we have had people that, I mean, gosh, we probably worked with the same client that Maddie did. We had people at a 600 calorie like intake a day, and I couldn't get them to change. I'm a pretty damn good coach, and I have good coaches inside the business. I couldn't do it. And so I stopped working with them. Like, on paper, in our agreement, we had another few months, but I stopped because I realized I wasn't the guy to help them. They needed somebody to help with the internal work, the food noise, through therapy and things like that. So I can't help everyone, number one. And now I'm on a completely different path. Re-ask your question, please.
Well, no, that's okay. That was actually a good first way to answer it, because it kind of, I probably should have worded it better, because what can you do if someone needs help like that? That's the answer. No, they need to go to someone else that is trained in that for those extreme situations. So let me reword it to this. I know my friend, and she shared this publicly. My friend Janelle, she said it so brilliantly one time. She's like, I don't know that I would have met the diagnostic criteria for an eating disorder, but I certainly dealt with disordered eating. And so she was one of these fitness people that was into the whole, I'm going to eat 1,200 calories a day while working out 6 days a week, like killing it in the gym. And
Yep.
she was able to make the changes, thank God, just with like a coach intervention that did not have, again, any psychology background for that per se. So there's clearly something that people like her coach and you are able to achieve with these women, which I think is so needed and amazing. So let's take the person that is not in like dire need of major psychological intervention immediately. How are you helping them, those 1,200 calorie gals that, they can move to 2,000, but they need to know that it's okay?
I love to look at the bigger picture. We need to explain to these people that they've been eating 1,200 calories for the foreseeable past and nothing's changed. And so they really only have two options. If they need to see immediate weight loss, the only option they have is to cut their calories even lower. And then what happens? They're at 400, 500, 600 calories. That's terrifying. That's not okay. The other option is, let's bring you up to your maintenance numbers for a short time, short is relative, and show you that, number one, you're not going to gain weight when you do it, but you are going to gain quality of life. And if you are one of those off cases that you gain 2, 3, or 4 pounds during this, would you sacrifice the short-term 4-pound gain for a long-term 50, 60, 70-pound loss and a massive increase in quality of life? And if we can look at the big picture there, the answer is always obvious.
Okay, awesome. Can we touch on this? Because I know there's a lot of different opinions on this. Some people will say that, and I'm just stating what they say, I'm not stating my opinion one way or the other. Some people will say if the calories get too low within reason, if it's at 0, of course, anyone's going to lose weight. You're going to waste away. That's ridiculous. No one's suggesting that. But people will say almost like at that 1,200 calorie mark, the body, I've heard it goes into starvation mode, and now it's actually becoming counterproductive to the weight loss. Do you think that's accurate? Is it because the stress is so high on the body? So I guess another way to say this is, when you get back up to maintenance, do you find that some women or let's say right below maintenance, I'm sorry, some women are actually losing weight more efficiently than at the 1,200 calories?
Frequently.
Okay.
Yeah, frequently. And I don't know, I think that stress is a big contributor of this, but I think that just also how humans are built. Because as a civilization, we progressed much faster than humans can evolve. And so, yeah, we have a grocery store in every block now, but our body doesn't know that. Our body's still in caveman mode, thinking that if we stop getting this constant flow of calories, if we're really low on calories compared to what we usually get, we need to start storing these for safety reasons. And so that's what I think a big factor of this is.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Moving to, we'll go back to the diet side, because I would love to talk about the ketos, carnivores, vegans, all this stuff. But to the exercise side too, just so I don't leave people hanging, because that was mentioned. You said you don't need to be working out every single day. I watched an Instagram reel that you did, where it was probably just an example, but you even talked about how 3 days on and 4 days of rest could be very beneficial. You come back stronger because you're weakening the body every time you work out. You have to recover. So, how the heck do you get people out of that mindset? Because I know this is another common theme I'm seeing. It's almost like the workout is to reward the food, and they're not eating enough food anyway, right? It's like, so I'm going to work out 7 days a week, so I feel that I can eat the food, and you're not even eating enough. So how do you convince these women that you do not need to be going 6-7 days a week to make good progress?
Yeah, it's kind of a two-sided thing for me. Number one, I think what you just said, we have to understand that as we exercise, we break the body down. And if we exercise or break the body down more than we recover or build it up, the only direction you're going is down. And you're going to continue to bring yourself down until you're at rock bottom. So you need to recover more than you exercise. The other part is, I like to explain to people that they're burning roughly 70% of their daily calorie intake just through BMR. So basal metabolic rate, simply through survival. And then 5% roughly, again, of their daily calorie burn comes through exercise, activity, thermogenesis. And so why are we putting such an emphasis on exercise if it's only contributing to 5% of our calorie burn? It's not because that leads to fat loss. What it should lead to is muscle gain, which then increases your BMR and allows you to burn more calories at rest. So if we think about it from that frame, I think we're way more efficient.
And do you find that that is an easy transition though? Because I feel like that sounds good when you said it, and I believe you, and I know that's true. But I feel like the the implementation side might not. I don't feel like to be like, oh yeah, Joe, sorry, I never thought about it that way. I'll stop immediately. So how do we actually get them to implement this?
Yeah, there's a lot of trust in the process and a lot of buy-in that needs to happen. And in the beginning for me, it was harder because I had less stories of success. But now we've been doing the same thing for so long that the only stories people see come from this. And so we'll hold up this transformation of Patty. I don't think we've ever had a client named Patty, so I'm not calling anyone out. And say, hey, this is what Patty achieved. Does this look like what you want? And they say, yes. I'm like, okay, well, this is what Patty did to get this. And so if you want what Patty got, you're going to have to do something similar to what Patty did. Are you willing to do that to get this result? And then they start to see the connection.
Hey, sell them what they want, give them what they need. Okay, so I'm spending some more time on the diet stuff, almost backtracking to that. And this is where it might get interesting because in our space, this is people who have been very sick with usually chronic illness. I mean, we have people on the show that had 10 different diagnosed, so not in their head, diagnosed diseases from doctors. And there are certain dietary changes that needed to be made for them to achieve health success. I'm one of those people.
Mhm.
I was at 7, which is ridiculous on paper, but it definitely is a real thing. So that's not always going to look the same for everyone. But I'm curious, are you attracting people that are on nameable diets? Like, are they eating keto, carnivore, vegan? Or is that the type of people you attract?
They might not be on it, but they've certainly done it. And
Okay.
I say that because, again, we're working with women that are 40, 50, and 60. And so most of the time, their weight didn't come on when they were 40, 50, or 60. Their weight came on at 25, 30, 35.
Mhm.
And so if their weight has been there that long, they generally didn't just start trying yesterday. They've been trying for a while. And what do people try? The thing that's most in front of them. They try those diets that we all hate.
Great.
So yeah.
Well, and in terms of this whole idea of detoxing from the diets, I guess I want to dive more into that and see what that means because I'm sure someone like you, I mean, you're very fit, you're eating well, right? It's not like you're going to McDonald's 7 days a week. So I always like to know where people like you draw the line between, okay, full out orthorexic, I'm taking everything way too
Mhm.
seriously versus, okay, we all know fast food's bad. So, if you're giving any to the degree that you're able, dietary recommendations. What does it look like for someone that works with you in terms of eating?
Yeah. So first, for the ladies that we work with, a lot of it comes from quantity before quality. And when we see that quantity starting to creep up and get to where it needs to be, then we'll focus on quality. So number one, we'll observe somebody and say, okay, well, over the past 7 days, you averaged 1,000 calories a day. You should be eating, let's say, 2,000 calories a day to maintain. We're slowly going to bring them up from there and show the body that it's getting food. It's okay. It can use those calories rather than store it. And when we see that they understand it, they understand how to add calories and not be overly full or stressed or make it difficult. We're going to start saying, hey, I saw that for the past 3 days you went to Dunkin' Donuts and you got that iced coffee. Look, I like iced coffee too. And I have one a couple times a week. But I see what you're putting in it. And I think that there's better options that are still going to taste great. Are you open to trying XYZ? And so we're going to give them substitutes for things that we see they enjoy so they can continue enjoying life, but enjoy it in a healthier way. And I think through that combination, that's where we really get people started.
I think there's validity to this too, because again, we'll get people listening that are so deep in the functional medicine space, they forget that there's different problems out there in the world. Not everyone has the exact same ones that people like myself and a lot of the audience have had. My friend Lily, again, someone not only shares this publicly, she has a brand around it. She had multiple eating disorders, like actual eating disorders, right? And some might argue that, well, no, quality always matters, right? We don't want to be eating a bunch of crap. And one, that's not what you just said. But two, for some people, guys, the biggest problem is the quantity. Lily is a beautiful, healthy looking person now because of what she's done and what she's accomplished in terms of making sure she's eating enough food. I personally would rather have someone eating the correct amount of calories and let's modify this to make sure it's eventually the right quality next versus, all right, I'm eating 500 calories a day of the most perfect food. Here's another way to word it, which is going to kill the average person faster.
Yes.
it's the second option, right? 500 calories of organic, grass-fed, paleo, vegan ice cubes or whatever it's going to be, that's not going to help you live very long. That's going to be a very dangerous situation very fast. So I think that's kind of the proof that actually is a priority for probably all of us, but certainly for subsets of the population. So in terms of people that are coming to you, I wanted to ask one. It's kind of a funny one. I'm not making fun of people, but I would like to know what's one of the most common beliefs that people are coming to you with? Like, I know that for a while, right, it was probably preceding us a little bit. Fat was the enemy of everything, right?
Mhm.
You couldn't eat fat. It was, get the processed stuff because as long as it's fat free, you're good to go. And it's amazing how many intelligent people actually still do buy into these things. So I'm not as deep into your space nowadays. So I'm wondering, is there any dogma or stuff that you would love to break if everyone in the world could listen to this podcast? Like, what are they coming to you with now that's just, this is ridiculous. You don't have to do this.
Yeah, the way to put it simply is eat less, move more. Like, we see it all the time, and it's due to the diets that we've mentioned a couple times. But how little can I eat and how much can I move? And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be moving every day. I think people should be moving every day. And I'm not saying people shouldn't be in a calorie deficit, but they need to be logical. That's it.
Okay. And yeah, and I guess the eat less, move more, the problem with it, because it's very simple on paper, at least you'd think it'd be simple enough to break, but you could use that on any diet. That's the real issue, right? That's almost even worse than the no fat thing because it can spread to anything. I could be a vegan and apply that. I could be a carnivore and apply that. Paleo, you can bring that dogma with you just about anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
With clients that you're working with now, I know that I didn't get to read this part of your bio, and I apologize. That's why it'll be in the show notes. But you have a very large team, it seems like, and a lot of different specialties. So for those considering working with you guys or looking into, what can they expect, or can they expect to work with during this coaching and transformation process?
Yeah, so I hired against my weaknesses because we don't need more Joes. We need more people that are good at the things I'm not good at. So our head coach is a registered dietitian. That's Coach Kate. We have Carissa, who is incredible at behavior change, which I think is at the root of almost any result inside of anything. Julie and Steven are both still training in person, so they're very, very good at assessing movement and seeing if somebody's moving safely and when we know they can progress. Steven's also incredibly good at mindset shifts. But across that, we kind of have this protocol that we follow for all clients and then adapt one-to-one as we see fit. But really, I just want to have a team that can accomplish anything inside of the realm of women 40, 50, 60 plus.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not asking for the secret sauce here, but again, for the sake of someone that might be looking into you guys, all right, they go to the website, they book a call, whatever the process might be. What can they expect in terms of like how much direct contact is there? How long are these programs? That's what I'd love to know more about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no secret sauce. There's no secret that I will keep over here. The programs vary because we have ladies that they want to lose 10 pounds, but gain 5 pounds of muscle. And then we have ladies that want to lose 150 pounds. And those programs look completely different and they take a completely different amount of time. I would recommend most of our clients stay on for at minimum 6 months because no lasting change is going to happen quicker than that. In terms of touch points and face-to-face contact, as far as that goes inside 2024, you're going to get a bi-weekly call with your coach. So every 2 weeks, it's up to 30 minutes long. If you really need something, it's going to last longer. You get 24/7 text messaging with them on the weekends as well. And then since we have 5 coaches, myself included, there is a daily Monday through Friday support call. One day has a new coach. And so every single client gets every single coach and can learn from them and how they speak. Because I know that what I'm saying might not resonate with somebody, but if you said it in a different way, it would probably resonate. And so the same is true for our 4 coaches and myself. We just like to be there for as many people as often as possible.
With the 6 months, is it because I do believe that behavior change takes time, especially if they've been working on this for a decade plus and not having success. Is a lot of the 6 months, are you still learning new things like in an intense way at the 6 month mark? Or is a lot of that to say, okay, we've learned a lot of the stuff that we've needed to learn up front, but now we're keeping you for this long because we actually want to make sure that when you leave, this isn't another crash thing that you get right back to where you were beforehand?
Yeah, I think there's like this inverse bell curve where in the beginning, there's a lot of learning.
Mhm.
Once we get them into weight loss, then we don't like to overcomplicate things. If somebody's losing weight, being successful, and doing it in a healthy way, we're going to really dial down the things we're adding in because you might not need more. But as you get closer to where you want to be, your desired result, you're going to start getting more intense again because we need to teach you something new. We need to start preparing you for the real world and how to stop living. Because, I mean, we're still doing a diet, right? We're still in a calorie deficit. We need to start preparing you to stop tracking every single meal you eat, stop weighing every single thing you eat, and showing you that you can go out and live a normal life. And if you miss your meal prep on Sundays or you don't want to meal prep on Sundays, you don't have to. And that's another learning curve. And so I think in the beginning, there's learning. In the middle, yeah, you're still learning. You're still getting better, but there's less of it. And at the end, you're learning again to be set up for the rest of your life.
Nice. What is one of the client testimonials to the degree that you're able to share that you are most proud of nowadays?
So there's one that comes to mind right away. She's a current client, and I'll shout her out because she would love it. Eleanor, she actually lives right down the road from me. Eleanor came in eating, I think it was like 13 or 1400 calories. I don't remember at this point. But right now she's up to 2,150 and she's down 23 pounds. But most importantly, what we asked her in the beginning is, what do you want to see happen in your life in 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months? And she's at roughly the 6 month mark right now. And she's like, Joe, I just want to be able to get in and out of my kayak and know that I can do it on my own so that I can have fun. It's like, awesome. What else do you want to do? She's like, I want to go hiking and I want to continue to travel because I want to enjoy this retirement. And right now, for anyone listening, I live in Vermont, so she's right down the road from me. Right now, as we speak, she's in South Africa on this massive hiking trip with her brother and her brother's son and his girlfriend. And she's having the time of her life. And she's doing it because, number one, she's lost weight, so moving's a little easier. But number two, she's giving her body what it needs to actually have energy and make it through the day while thriving instead of just surviving and dragging on.
Mhm. Awesome, man. You said the in-person thing a couple of times. So just to be clear, you do offer things online, but then if someone, gosh forbid, happens to be one of the, 700,000 people that actually live in Vermont, they can work with you in person as well?
No, so I actually don't do anything in person. We are completely online.
Okay.
For anyone that's near me, I'll go and work out with you. Like, I don't know
Got
the
it.
amount of clients that I've just met at the gym, been like, hey, let's go hang out and have fun. But all of our actual coaching is done online.
And what part of Vermont is it? I got to ask.
Brattleboro. Are you familiar?
I, I'm the guy that's familiar with Burlington, and if you gave me any other answer, I wouldn't know. So yeah, I was just, you never know. I'm like, that's a fraction of the state up in that city, if you call it a city. So yeah, I was just
Yeah.
wondering, is that what part of the state is that in?
It's a small state, man, so you can't get too far away.
Sure.
However, we are just about as far as you can get. So we are the furthest town south before you move into Massachusetts. And
Okay.
Burlington's up around probably like the middle or the top half of the state.
Yeah, it's an amazing state. So, and you got a lot of people there that are definitely fitness oriented and want to keep moving. I mean, gosh, you kind of have to be to survive there. You know, if you can't if you can't ski and snowboard, it's not the best state in the world. It can become awesome if you're interested in all that and hiking and stuff. So, very cool. And what are your plans now? I mean, just from, again, I try to look into people's Instagrams and I try to look into their stuff to get a vibe on them. So you seem like a very mission driven person. Obviously, you can't even achieve certain physiques without being a mission driven and focused person. So that seems like who you are. So what's your vision for your company and what you've built so far?
Yeah, the vision keeps growing as it should. When I started this, I actually just wanted to be me. I had no plans of having a team. But then I realized I was capped. I could only help so many people if it was just me. And so I hired the coaches, I scaled the team. Now we can help, got 5 times the amount of people. But what I realize now is the sky's the limit. If my goal is truly to impact as many lives as I can in a positive way, I can still go upstream. So now I can grow the business and hire more coaches and help more people that way. Or I can help other coaching businesses learn how to be successful and help that business help other people. And so it's just continuing to see how many people I can help and hopefully make the world a better place.
Awesome. If you guys do have any questions that you're watching live, please feel free to throw them in. I did see a comment here. I'm not sure if it's a question. Chelsea had said, well, this is from before. I'm sorry, Chelsea, I missed you. Well, there is the ice hack because some people that can't lose weight on a meal plan. So I find eating freezies and not working out so much. I went from 240 to 205 in 2.5 weeks. You know anything about freezies? That must be your space.
No, I don't know what that is,
Okay.
but that amount of weight loss in that time frame worries me a little.
Mhm.
And I choose my words carefully. I said weight loss, not fat loss, because at the end of the day, I don't think reaching a goal weight is ever the true goal. I think that reaching a desired body composition and level of health is the end goal. And if you're going to lose weight really fast, we understand that, yeah, you're probably losing some fat, but you're also losing some muscle too. And so that means sometimes when you reach that goal weight, rather, you might not be in your desired body.
Yeah, fair enough. I think body composition is a very it's not talked about enough because there's a huge difference between weights. I'm asking this for a reason. It's a compliment. How tall are you right now?
5'11".
Okay, all right. So well, it's a compliment because I'm 6 foot, so I'm only an inch taller than you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 185 pounds. You said you're 195. I mean, I'm an athletic person. I exercise and I do sports, but clearly the way that you train and take care of yourself, I mean, we look dramatically different if we were standing next to each other. So you're right. That's a really good point. It's why we can't just go to the number and say, yeah, 240 to 205. That was the only thing that struck me. I didn't know what freezies were. But 2.5 weeks, that's a very short amount of time to lose that. And again, you kind of wonder even what's possible and what's not. And so, Chelsea, again, this isn't at you by any means. Thank you for sharing the comments that you shared. It's more to help, hopefully, because you're on this podcast. It's like 240 to 205. If I wanted to lose, now, granted, there's a difference between 240 and 205 for a woman, and then 185 to 150 for a male that's 6 foot. I get that, but if I lost that, I know there's no way I could do that with just fat. That's for dang sure. But more importantly, I feel like you're just dehydrated at that point. I feel like you're not even eating enough to just keep your glycogen stores high. Like I can change my weight 10 pounds in 2 days if I really had to. You know what I mean? Like if someone gave me the money to do that just because of the knowledge that I have, I could go fake that. So I'm just hoping that you're feeling good. That's what is most important. I don't see any other questions coming in right now, which is totally fine. So Joe, I'll have a couple more questions for you here. One, obviously, where can people find you if they would like to work with you?
Yeah, I think the easiest place is just Facebook and Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I'm always responding to every single thing I get, whether it's a message, a comment, a follow. When you hear from Joe Hoye, it's going to be me. And so you just search my name, Joe Hoye, Hoye.
Awesome. And obviously, if you guys are listening on audio, we will have that for you in the show notes. And then I am just getting your Instagram copy here. There we go. And he has a very aesthetically pleasing Instagram. It's very well done. Even your background right now, I'm like, I got to upgrade my podcast background here a little bit.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So, right, here we go. One other question, then our signature question on the show. So the only other question I wanted to ask, just to dot my I's and cross my T's here, is because it's your business. You can work with whoever you want. I know that the people that listen to this show, some of them, and like me, they're going to be very dedicated to the dietary principles that they abide by. Like one of the things I will not do. I feel awful on it. It's been 7 years. I will never do it again. I just don't work with gluten. And I do have lab tests that show I respond immunologically, right? It's not a theory. So I get that. But, are you able to, if they're willing to work on the calories, then are you able to accommodate people that might have certain restrictions that they might be willing to, they'll die before they give those things up? Is that something that you're open to, or is that not the client that you can best serve or would want to help?
By all means. I'm sure someone could appear in the future and there's something where I'm like, hey, either I just don't believe in this at all, or I don't think I can help. But I truly think that as long as someone is healthy and getting the nutrients they need, the best diet is the one that works for you. And so my goal is not to change you away from vegan if you're doing it in a healthy way and getting all your proteins and your nutrients. My goal is to figure out how to make this work for your life and for your health for the rest of your life in a normal way. So yeah, of course.
Perfect. Well, and fair enough. I mean, there's some people that have come on here and they just don't want to take on certain things. It's not like they're mean about it, but they're just like, hey, it's not my thing. So I like that you're open to it. That's cool.
Mhm.
And you did say quantity over quality, right? So you're like, I don't care what quality you're doing. We just got to get the quantity up to this. At least that's the first part. So that's great.
Exactly.
And then, Joe, just in the nature of a holistic health functional medicine program, this is how we always finish. It's not a trick question. It can be whatever you want. So the question is, if we could give you a magic wand, you could wave it and you could get every single one of our listeners to do one thing for their health. So that means you could get them to start doing one thing, or you can get them to stop doing one thing. What is the one thing that Joe gets them to do?
So, as you all know by now, big quantity fan, also a quality fan for anyone that's going to get mad at me, but quantity first. And so, if I could wave this wand, I want you all to go and find a free calorie calculator online based off your TDEE, not your BMR. Figure out how much food your body needs. Figure out what your goal is and go from there. If you're eating at a massive deficit, just stop, please.
Awesome. Joe, thank you so much for what you're doing. Again, this is these are the behind the scenes conversations sometimes here at FDN. And there's people that have shared it publicly, and I appreciate their transparency, but I can't tell you how much this comes up where, again, otherwise intelligent, logical people that have every little bit of knowledge about lab tests, supplements, all dietary theories, whatever, are still struggling with this. And it's very sad to me because I'm like, wow, if they just get this under control, that's it. You know, they're going to be freaking rock stars. So I think this is a very needed thing. And I just appreciate what you're doing.
For sure. Hey, one more thing.
Sure.
Just as a thank you to you and anybody that spent time listening to this entire podcast. I know we talked about it before, but I wanted I want to break the ice and give one person 3 months of free coaching.
Nice.
And so what I'm going to need is a way to contact you. So I'll send you a link, and then there's just going to be your name, your phone number, your email. We need that, like I said, so I can contact you. And the last thing I need is why. I need a really compelling reason as to why you think you should be the winner of the free coaching. And me and my team are going to read through every response, decide on the why. And if that's you, I will contact you. I'll probably give you a phone call. So answer the 802 area code, please. And we're going to get you into coaching, and we're never going to sell you a thing. So don't be afraid of that.
And is that still best to reach out on Instagram or Facebook then to do that?
I think I'll give you, if you're putting things in the show notes, I'll make a website and they can just fill out the form right there.
Okay, great. And then if you guys have just watched this live and we don't have that quite up yet,